Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the WHOLESTIC Method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie Potts, the host of the Whole Athlete Podcast, and doing a new episode on kind of the new bonus Wednesday and Friday episodes. I've been doing more finally this year with just me talking to you about building your health with the WHOLESTIC Method, which is the 8 elements of really key areas we need to work on to be healthy on the inside and out if you want to improve your performance in life and sports, but also, I think more importantly, improve the aging process, your longevity. And as most of us are endurance athletes or athletes doing different sports, maybe not endurance wise, but we are curious about how to train smarter, how to get faster, get stronger, get leaner, how to hopefully improve the aging process, or maybe just recovery and repair. So on Wednesdays, I will be focusing on how to build or rebuild the whole athlete from the inside out. And then Fridays talk about more performance, how to train, how to perform your best as the whole athlete. And today's episode, I'm going to talk, because it's a holiday season, and yesterday as I record this was just Thanksgiving, and we start to have a busy holiday season ahead of us, usually with a little bit more social events. So how do you get through the holidays, starting Thanksgiving until New Year's, without gaining 7 to 10 pounds? Well, there's a lot to it. I think a lot of it, first of all, would just be getting your mind right. Not thinking that, the same mentality if you're going out of town on vacation, that you have a hall pass to eat whatever you want. Well, maybe you want to overindulge, but how can you overindulge without paying for it and ruining all that hard work that you did over the last few months or years? So talk about intermittent fasting and detox and digestive repair. What I've been doing, I created this program over 12 years ago in my fitness studio in Bellevue, Washington, where I live. And it used to be the 21-day sugar detox program. And over the years, I started to create a mini version, because a lot of people always say some lame excuse, I don't have time to do 21 days. I'm going to be on vacation or have this meeting or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, that's great. That's reality. We're never not busy in a month period with other activities unless you fly away to some deserted island or boot camp or spa retreat that there's no real life. So you actually are going to succeed more in a program as a detox program if it is with real life challenges, real struggles, and learning opportunities, how to stay on track and behave and perhaps change some mindsets, some areas of opportunity. So I created the 5-day Jumpstart over 5 years ago to allow those people that had all of those excuses, in my mind they're excuses. 5 days was easier to do than 21 days. I can commit to 5 days. They didn't have anything going on that week. But then people still want to cancel doing a 5-day Jumpstart challenge because they say, oh, I have this event or this party. It's like, we just have to learn that we don't need alcohol every single night. You don't need to eat 3 meals a day, 2 snacks. You don't need to eat at nighttime and then go to bed. So what I've created is a 3-phase program. I call it, part of what I said earlier, the WHOLESTIC Method, where I coach you on the 8 elements, nutrition and exercise, but then also addressing stress, as we'll dive into another episode just on chronic stress, external stressors, and those hidden internal stressors that I will be doing individual coaching for those with functional lab testing and clinical correlation of your labs with your stressors and main health complaints. But then also we have sleep, which impacts everything. And we'll do another episode on sleep by itself because there's so much to talk about. And movement, mobility, getting range of motion, some hip movement, some shoulder, chest openers, putting the head back to the wall. I mean, look at everyone on their phone and how we have this hunchback forward head position and curved spine. So even if you work out every day, what are you doing the rest of the day? So getting our movement in, our steps, our mobility drills. And then, of course, in the 30-day program, we really work on the element of digestion and gut health and improving our gut health, because we can assume most everyone has some level of a permeable gut wall lining, or easier to think of it as a leaky gut. You have holes in your gut and we have poor digestion. So we have maldigested food entering into our intestinal wall, irritating that gut wall, eating foods that we are reactive to or sensitive to. Even if they're low carb keto, you still could be consuming foods that are not good for your gut biome, and not digesting your protein because we have low stomach acid. You don't have enough digestive enzymes or support of bile to break down those fats that you're consuming. So we need some supplementation to break down our fat, carbs, and proteins, and working on our gut biome. So we do a lot of that in my 3-phase program, 30-day program. Phase 1 is this 5-day jumpstart I'm getting to. Phase 2 is 21-day sugar detox, and more so of a digestive reset and repair, because what do we eliminate to repair our gut? Sugar, grains, inflammatory foods as vegetable oils and corn and peanuts, and all these foods are typically irritants to your gut wall lining. So as Vinnie Tortorich started years ago, that NSNG, no sugar, no grains, or as Sean Croxton taught years ago, JERF, just eat real food. And then we've got, keto or carnivore or paleo. It's all about eating real food that doesn't irritate your gut, that you're able to properly digest and break down, and that is right for your metabolic type and your gut biome, as well as your genetic profile. As I talked the other week on DNA Fit, looking at your genetic markers and improving your genetic predisposition by working on your lifestyle and genetics, which is epigenetics. So then, of course, we work on hydration, making sure we're consuming enough water, electrolytes. Most people all use or need. People are scared of salt. It's not table salt we add. It's Himalayan sea salt and some minerals into our water, so we hydrate our tissues. And our body is, a lot of it's water. So if we're dehydrated, we are getting malfunctions in all sorts of areas, including your heart. And then my favorite part of the Holistic Method and my coaching program is gratitude. Perfect timing right now during the holidays, having daily gratitude homework to do, and working on being happy, finding happiness. What makes you smile, laugh in life? So many people, a lot of athletes I know, are a little uptight. And a lot of that, I think, is adrenal issues or HPA axis dysfunction. But we often need to make more time in our day to relax, unplug, chill out, and do activities that make you happy, make you smile, make you feel alive and thrive every day. Instead of being this grumpy Gus that just is like hating everything they do, you just see those people. They're just the Debbie Downers. And I find the more I work on myself and appreciating each day as if it's your last day, and making time to be with people that make you laugh. I have some friends I hang out with, sometimes I do dinner with, and they're clients that I had, and we would just laugh hysterically and not even know what the heck I'm laughing at, because someone else started laughing and suddenly you're laughing uncontrollably and you're crying. So that is so therapeutic and it's helpful for your health. So that is kind of what I talk about my 30-day program. I tend to overwhelm people with too much information, I know. So I try to narrow it down. What are you trying to work on? What are your main health concerns and goals? That's a really important part of healing and rebuilding the whole athlete from the inside out with private coaching. But the group program is really nice because we can have accountability and work on 10 to 20 people in a group. We have a 1-hour seminar to get started the Friday before we begin. And why is my computer moving without me? So let me look at my screen so I can keep on track. But the 30-day program I'll start running January and in March. So every other month I'll be conducting my 30-day group challenge for 20 to 30 people. And then the 5-day Jumpstart I'm running in December in between the holidays. So next week I will be running the 5-day Jumpstart challenge. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit today, just because I think it's really important for people to do in between Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah and all these different holidays we have with celebrating life and the season with our family and friends. And it usually involves a little more alcohol, a little more eating. But there's ways you can eat more protein and avoid the sugar and greens and have more of the fat and protein plates first for sure and get full from that, or eat before you go out. Anyway, so the 5-day Jumpstart is phase 1 that we work on liver detox. And then we go into phase 2, which is the more digestive repair, kind of similar, but we start with the 5-day Jumpstart to really get the liver functioning well. And you can download my free ebook on debbiepotts.net. I actually have another new ebook on there too. So there's about 3 different ones you can download for free, but they really are beneficial to understand the role of the liver and why we need to do this liver detox. And then we go into digestive repair and reset as a sugar detox program for 21 days plus some, and ideally keep doing it. And the maintenance phase is phase 3. Like, how do you keep doing this? Once you're becoming fat adapted, you may need to do this program, ongoing, but just talking about the importance of becoming fat adapted, burning fat for your main fuel source and being metabolically efficient and flexible to burn carbs when needed in, say, like a finishing sprint in a race, and you're able to save those carbs for when you need them. So what is fasting about? We're going to talk about that because that's a big part of what I'm teaching people. Intermittent fasting is a 16-hour fast is what we work towards, and then of course there's 24 hours in the day, so that leaves you 8 hours to eat. And during the 5-day detox, we are just going to work on liquids and 1 meal a day. So let me have my sip of my water here. 1 meal a day. When I started this, I didn't know I was doing intermittent fasting. I did not know I was doing OMAD. I created this program based on intuitive nutrition coaching and how to heal and rebuild our whole self. So I did this without realizing all the benefits that we get from this. It just seems natural. Like, to detox would mean stop eating foods that your body has to break down. And that includes a heavy protein meal, even though that's what we work towards. But we have to get our digestive system working at optimal level, because most all of us are operating at a dysfunctional level, and your body and your mind starts to think that's your new normal, which I hate, but that's not true. And that's not something you should settle for, being your new normal or part of aging. A lot of what we need to work on is by optimizing your cell function, optimizing your pancreas, your adrenals, your liver function, learning how to slow down when you eat and relax. So we work towards fasting longer duration in the 30-day program. We might add a little bit longer fasting, but the 1 meal a day is very easy to do once you get started, because I do have people in their 8-hour eating window have bone broth. And then try to schedule your main meal later afternoon or early dinner and stop eating 3 hours before bed. So it's really easy if you are going to bed by 9 or 10, because I don't want them to go to bed after 10 p.m. We want to get good night's sleep because that's the biggest part of your body healing and rebuilding, detoxifying, is when you're sleeping. So some people need to prioritize their goals to focus on sleeping during my coaching program because a lot of people don't sleep enough or have poor quality of sleep. So I use athletic greens myself when I'm doing more of a fast and when I'm exercising a lot more because there's so much nutrition in there. I like Bonafide Provisions bone broth because the founder is a nutritional therapist and her husband's a chef, so they know what they're talking about, and they have the best tasting bone broth. And it was just on sale. And we have a 20% off coupon code to give out people in my program that they can go online and get a shipment to their house if they're on the mainland. I know Hawaii clients were not able to order the bone broth, but they can find it in some stores on the island. I know Island Naturals probably has some frozen bone broth. I'm not a fan of the box bone broth. It's just not the same, but we talk about that in the program. So fasting, you can have some organic coffee. I like Keon coffee or some different organic ones. And then sipping on bone broth throughout the day, apple cider vinegar, detox drink, and then liver detox herbal tea we have throughout the day. Not drinking too much at night because of course you go pee-pee all night long if you drink too much. And also teaching people to put some Himalayan sea salt into their water. It's really big when you need to hydrate and you're peeing it all out, you're not retaining it, but also when you're going lower carbohydrates, people need to add a little bit more minerals, sea salt into their food. So what do we eat? We combine fats, vegetables, if leafy vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, trying to be the healthier in your gut vegetables, and then good source of quality protein into one big meal each day. And I like people to use KETO MOJO. I have them, that's what I'm trying to promote the January program now, or whenever they do the 30-day, because you have to order stuff online, which comes, in a week. But you want to order KETO MOJO, and I'll have all the links in my show notes to add in. But the KETO MOJO I like the best because you can do the glucose and your blood ketones. So we don't know about our internal stressors unless we do functional lab testing. We don't know if we're eating the right amounts of carbs, protein, and fat for our metabolic type unless we test. Everybody is different. There is no one size fits all approach. The main goal, I think everyone agrees on, to eat real food and eat the right amount so you're full for hours. You should feel energized. You're not supposed to feel bloated and have gas and burping and having sugar cravings after you eat. That's eating the wrong foods for your body type. So I teach people about that. Eating good healthy fats is avocado, coconut oil, ghee, fish oils, and even having some grass-fed butter and olive oil on your food. So really all these great options you have. And if you're hungry, I have people have some bone broth. A bone broth fast is about 6 cups a day. You can just do that all day long. And it's amazing how full you feel, especially if you add a little cayenne pepper or some Himalayan sea salt, minerals, spices. I like truffle sea salt. And if I'm just doing more of a fasting day, I might add some Kerrygold or some other type of the grass-fed butter into my bone broth, or MCT oil if you could have just the right amount so you're not going to have poopy pants by having too much MCT oil, what Brock used to say. Disaster pants, Brock used to say. So having some sheep and goat dairy or removing dairy altogether might be beneficial for a lot of people that have symptoms. So before we begin the program, the 30-day program, I send everyone a copy of the nutritional therapy form that we use, intake form, to help people see for themselves all these different symptoms and how they correlate with body functions with your organs as your digestion, liver, small intestine, large intestine. It's broken up into segments, and you can evaluate your symptoms and what maybe you need to work on a little bit more individually with a health coach. So really teaching people how to flip the switch, how to get off the blood sugar roller coaster and start to burn fat as your main fuel source, as your energy should be coming from fat right now when you're exercising, lower heart rates. And the more metabolically efficient you get by training, that we talked about in the Friday episode on Maffetone Method, max aerobic function heart rate, that Phil Maffetone created forever ago, really can be correlated to, or correlated, right, the word, synchronize your food and your training to maximize your fat burning and enhance your fat optimization and carb timing. If you need some little carb as Vespa, we talked with Peter Defty on Vespa about using carbs when appropriate if you're doing a higher intensity workout session or longer duration that you need a little something. So we want to be teaching you how to become fat adapted. That's in the 30-day program. The 5 days just kind of a jumpstart program to get our body working at optimal level. So I have people measure their waist when they start. They work on getting some pictures, maybe you put a bathing suit on you want to get into so you can see what your body shape looks like. I have people measure their waist because usually that body fat we have inflammation is around our belly fat. So by measuring around your belly button is a good way to figure out what you have done and not get sucked into being on the scale every day. Which, side note, I just watched Brittany trains for a marathon or runs a marathon on Amazon. It's a great inspirational kind of documentary type of movie on how this girl, Brittany, it's a remake of a true story, how she was overweight and dealing with kind of not getting her life together and really insecure and about her food and weight and body image. And it's a great movie to watch, and how she kind of transformed the whole her with running, but also getting her life in order, you know, working on her food, working on her sleep, not drinking and partying so much. And I liked it because it motivates you to do New York Marathon again, which is one of my favorite races for running. But also that she couldn't just get in shape by running. She had to go do strength training. She had to go to bed early and cut out partying, as I said, and the drugs and the alcohol. And you have to work on the whole you to improve performance and longevity, especially if you want to become fat burner and drop weight for good and get off that blood sugar roller coaster. So anyways, great movie to watch. You probably want to go run a race. Sign up for a race next year by watching that show. Movie on Amazon. Okay, so what I have people do is get started by measuring the waist, as I said, and then shopping, getting some bone broth. As I said, the bona fide provisions I like. I used to think I like Cauldron, but the box kind, the Kettle on Fire, it's not as good as option as a frozen kind, because you can tell, I figured out this myself and I told the bona fide reps and they said the same thing, that if you take your bone broth that you're having and say you have extra, put it in a mug and put it in the refrigerator. When it chills, it should be solid, gelatinous. It should be like jiggled jello. If it's still liquid, you know that wasn't a good source. So it's a great little trick to do to find out, did you have a good quality bone broth? So what we do is stop eating before bed, and then we don't start eating the next day until after 16 hours. And some people have to change a little bit if they tend to work out higher intensity in the morning. They may feel a little sluggish to start, and then once they're fat adapted, it's a little bit easier to do a fast. But I think, you know, using UCAN for some people that are a little bit more high intensity workouts, like I have someone that does more high intensity interval training for Spartan racing. I can easily go fasted in my morning workouts. I do strength training Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 5:30 a.m. to 6:30, and I do some intervals some days and treadmill, and I'm fine by just having coffee and water. But other people that do higher intensity workouts, it may be more sugar dependent still. They may need a little extra fuel source as Vespa or, have UCAN beforehand, and that might help them, especially if you're working out later in the day. So I want to talk about a little bit of the 5-day Jumpstart bone broth benefits and fasting. So let's hop over to bone broth and the benefits of fasting. So bone broth, if you don't know about it yet, it's pretty amazing. And it's been used for centuries as a traditional method of supporting total body wellness, from digestion to immunity to healthy joints, supple skin. And as I said, there's good kinds and bad kinds of bone broth. Not bad necessarily, just not as effective, because true bone broth is made by simmering water, bones, and apple cider vinegar for 18 or more hours. And this is from Bonafide Provisions website, but they said this time-tested method breaks down the bones and the joints to release the collagen protein, glucosamine, chondroitin, and minerals, creating a nutrient-dense broth that becomes thick and gelatinous when it's cooled. So really key part is that refrigerator test you can do on your own. Now, why do we take bone broth? Well, as I said, the immunity. So they say collagen and amino acids in the bone broth help strengthen and repair our gut lining, which is home to over 70% of our immune system. And that's what I'm doing as a functional nutrition practitioner, is working on the lab testing and putting people on the Dress for Health Success program, working on their diet, rest, exercise, stress, and supplementation. And because a lot of the lab tests help correlate people's chronic fatigue and weight gain and different health issues, main health complaints, whatever they might be, are related to gut health, and putting in the priority of our gut health, because 70% of our immune system is in our gut wall lining. So it's really essential to do this type of bone broth fast and get that gut health right where we need it to be. So joint health is another issue, especially for athletes. I found out bone broth myself after a bike accident. I had, shoulder surgery? No, that was my other one. I've had 2 major bike crashes in my 20 years. But joint health was huge to help the healing from a bike accident. That's what I did right after my surgery. So gelatin and collagen help strengthen the skeletal system, rebuild connective tissue, ease joint pain, and reduce inflammation. Also, bone broth helps your skin, hair, and nails, because the collagen in the bone broth provides the building blocks for healthy skin, hair, and nails, which is really important for me. As I get older, I want my skin looking more beautiful. And brain function, another important part of longevity. And for myself, after having so-called adrenal exhaustion, HPA axis dysregulation for so many years, my memory and brain fog and focus and all that was really, it's always an area of opportunity for me, but really that brain fog and memory issue gets challenged when you have chronic stress disease. So the bone broth helps with improving the gut, because remember, we've talked in other episodes that your gut is your second brain. So indirectly, we can improve our brain function by improving our gut function, because it directly affects how we think and feel once we support our gut, which makes sense. You think about when you're nervous and worrying about a race, for example, you have maybe running to the bathroom, or you might have stomach pains and cramps. So the gut and the brain is very connected. So we add bone broth in our 8-hour eating window and have it just instead of coffee. You can have it afternoon or when you start to have cravings, or you can cook it in your meal and use it when you're braising meat, sauteing vegetables, and baking. Sometimes they said that as well. So they suggest rice and quinoa, but we don't do rice or quinoa in our program because it's too many carbohydrates. So we also can use it great, as I said, pre and post surgery, pre and post workouts, and also I read somewhere on anyone going through chemo And cancer treatment is huge to have bone broth because all those minerals, electrolytes, amino acids. So how does this help our digestion? Well, when we have bone broth, it's one of the best whole food sources of the amino acid L-glutamine, which acts like, she says, a spackle or sewing needle to the lining of the intestine. And this is from Bonafide Provisions founder Sharon, who we're doing a podcast with in 2 weeks. So why would you want to spackle your intestine? Well, the bone broth helps strengthen the integrity of the gut wall lining and ultimately improves your digestion and supports healthy levels of inflammation, which we all have, especially for adding chronic cardio training to our schedule. We need to have more focus on our gut health. When shopping for store-bought bone broth, make sure you always check the ingredients. Don't just read the front of the box or the label or the advertising on the front of the product. You should always turn around the product and look at the ingredients. So many people forget that part. And know who you're buying from and make sure it's quality. So they suggest, looking at the frozen bone broth because it locks in the flavor and preserves the nutrients at their peak. So bone broth is traditionally frozen. And the stuff on the shelf, you don't know if it has preservatives in it, shelf stabilizers, or other processing additives. Also, you want to get organic bone broth. Organic ingredients is so essential for having bone broth because if you remember what I said earlier, how it's made, ew, that'd be gross if you're getting factory farm animals and soaking up their nutrients from their bones are going to be contaminated. And so the ingredients should only have grass-fed bones and no filler broth. So you want to make sure the bone broth is high quality bones, that animals are raised on pasture and free of environmental toxins, and that it's cheaper and faster to add pre-made broth to their bone broth. So you got to make sure they're not doing that because it makes it watered down. That makes it less effective of the real bone broth. Crazy, right? I mean, you just think you can trust these companies. That's why I go by Bonafide Provisions because I've met them many times at food shows and nutritional therapy conferences and where else did I see them? Paleo FX, Keto Con, they were there and I've talked to them. Each show I always say hi and chat with them. They really can trust their product. So those are some things on having bone broth. Now, detoxing the liver, we want to work on removing the inflammatory foods, and which hopefully are the grains, the sugars, the fast foods, processed foods, conventional meat, commercial dairy, and even taking out coffee and alcohol. So we have herbal detox tea. I have people get milk thistle in their herbal tea. Turmeric's great to add in. Dandelion's great to have. Work on our detoxing our lives. So having some awareness of those people that are those energy robbers I've talked about are really important to, avoid when you're doing a detox because they're part of the problem. And having, more awareness, but the gratitude journal that people write might be good to let out any frustrations or realizing people you resent or, forgive people that maybe you need to deal with to move on and be free of anger, anything you're holding in, because that is an additional toxin, is your emotions. So there's lots of podcasts out. I need to do one on that with someone because I think that is a really common area of inflammation. People are holding on into emotional stress. So consuming foods that cleanse the liver, sprouts, sour foods, probiotic rich foods, and of course those carnivores love the nose to tail, the real liver, eating chicken or beef liver, grass-fed, of course, and free-range animal sources. So those are great supporters of your liver. And I have people work on hot and cold showers, having some infrared sauna if they can do, and really working on figuring out ways that they can get hot and then cold. So the showers, infrared sauna, I use Sunlighten in my house. We're doing a new podcast with them soon, talking about the near infrared. Red light therapy is big. I like my Sunlighten because it has near, mid, and far infrared wavelengths, and I've been doing it more since it's finally in my own house. And really important to have a toxic binder. So when you're doing a liver detox, if you look on my blog post with Quicksilver products, really want to have something to bind to those toxins that you're freeing up, especially when you do a fat loss program and a liver detox program and doing the infrared saunas. You really have to have a liver detox binder. So activated charcoal, I like bulletproof, bentonite clay. Biobotanical Research Lab has this really good one called GI Detox. It's a combo of activated charcoal and bentonite clay. Chlorella from Energy Bites is a great way. There's just really important to have these binders to kind of stick to those toxins that you're shaking out of your cells, sort of, and getting them out through your feces, and you pee out your toxins. So we sweat, we breathe, we want to poop 2 or 3 times a day. Solid poop is a healthy poop. You can go find the poopy policeman from Paul Chek picture I shared, and really work on getting more water to move things out. And a lot of people are constipated, so we should do another episode on poop. But anyways, so detoxing is really important, but having a binder is just as important. So think about that when you're starting an infrared sauna and you're doing a detox program. Or if you're just switching to a keto diet, I really think people are doing keto and those that are doing keto carnivore really need to have some supplementation to help digestion and detoxification. All right, so the detox drink that we like to have in the program is apple cider vinegar. Simland has some information in his book about that, but it's a great little drink that you can have. He says not the Bragg one with the big probiotic at the mother in it, but other apple cider vinegars are great to do even on a fast day, and it won't break your fast. So apple cider vinegar does so much. Well, that's a whole episode in itself, but going through the basic ones to tell you are the digestion, because it's acidic. Help take a shot of it before you eat, and then it helps stabilize your blood sugar too and your gut health. So bone broth we went over, and then let me wrap up today's show on just a little bit of the fasting. So we have really a lot of info to talk about on fasting, and I've already gone over my 30 minutes time here, but getting the right amount of fuel that you need, you don't need as much as you think. So we work on getting some fasting with low carb, high fat, or higher protein, kind of keto carnivore you can experiment with in our 1 meal a day, having that window of time to help the benefits of fasting to help optimize your liver, your digestion, getting some mitochondria benefits. So a good hormetic stress is having that right amount of eat, don't eat. So I was just writing an article about the benefits of intermittent fasting and what hormetic stress is good type of stress, and fasting and kind of that fed state versus fasted states, kind of interval training for fuel, and teaching your body how to find your stored fat instead of working on eating all the time and just burning that, which hopefully you've read my book, Life is Not a Race. It is a journey. I went back in my lifetime and shared my journey to help you, other athletes, understand kind of what chronic stress can come from, as myself as an example. And I added part of my journey is, I got into low carb, high fat because I didn't understand as an endurance athlete how I was supposed to burn fat that I had on my body when I'm supposed to eat all these calories before, during, and after workout. And that's when I kind of started in 2001 do an Ironman and try to get my body to be fat adapted before we even had these terms in our vocabulary yet. But fasting is a big part of teaching your body how to burn fat. And, you know, when we're eating all the time, typical carb diet that we were taught, and we just get on that blood sugar roller coaster. So when insulin's released, we pretty much stop burning fat. So you store fat instead of use it for fuel. So that's why we want to go low carb for most people and get them to balance their blood sugar. So we get out of that carb, eat carbs, burn carbs. So fasted states really help that process. And then intermittent fasting. Well, I have an article in here from Dr. McCullough from a few years ago, talk about how fasting, as everyone says in their articles, kind of the same thing, but it's a historical commonplace that's been part of spiritual practices for years. It helps normalize your insulin and leptin sensitivity, boosting mitochondrial energy efficiency, which is one of the primary mechanisms that makes intermittent fasting so beneficial for health, as it's related to your impact on insulin sensitivity. While sugar is a source of energy for your body, it also promotes insulin resistance, which leads to type 2 diabetes and speeds up the aging process because that glycation on your cells. But when you have consumed so much sugar for so many years, because it's found in all the processed foods and packaged foods, the junk foods, but insulin resistance is the primary driver of chronic disease, heart disease to cancer, and everything in between. So intermittent fasting helps reset your body to use fat as this primary fuel. And Dr. McCullough talks about how so much evidence confirms that when your body becomes adapted to burning fat as your main fuel and not sugar, you dramatically reduce your risk of chronic disease. Normalizing ghrelin, the hunger hormone, is really beneficial from fasting, because you ever feel like, oh my gosh, I keep eating and I can't get full, or I'm hungry all the time. Those are the hormones leptin and ghrelin, the hunger hormones, and feeling satiated and full. Or leptin, the growling, I always think of ghrelin, growling stomach, so that's a hunger hormone. Leptin is being full and satisfied. So think of those hormones. We want to be sensitive to it, so we know when we're hungry, know when we're full, so we stop eating. And then fasting promotes human growth hormone, which we need, and we need to be sleeping properly so we can get the release of the growth hormones, especially those that go to bed at midnight. You're probably missing that window. But research has shown that fasting can raise your human growth hormone by as much as 1,300%. I've written down here in women and 2,000% in men, which plays an important role in their health, fitness, and aging process. Human growth hormone is also a fat-burning hormone that helps explain why fasting is effective for weight loss, which I like to say fat loss. And reducing oxidative stress is a huge one for us athletes, because every time we exercise longer durations, we put more stress on the body on top of all the other sources of oxidative stress. But fasting decreases the accumulation of oxidative free radicals in the cell and prevents oxidative damage to cellular proteins, your lipids, nucleic acids, and those are all associated with aging and disease. So easy ways is intermittent fasting, but really if you need cell autophagy, you need to go a little longer, like a 24-hour fast, which we work towards in my 30-day program, because you just stop eating. The intermittent fast gets to be, once you're fat adapted, you have that main meal, and then you don't eat till the next main meal the next day, and ends up being 24 hours. So the benefits are all listed of fasting in the Global Health Center website. Dr. Axe, Dr. Jason Fung, Sim Land, there's tons of information out there. So some of the benefits, as we talk about, improves your body composition and fitness, promotes greater satiety, boosts your metabolism, supports fat loss and ketosis. So naturally when you're fasting, you get into ketosis, so you don't have to do as extremely low carbohydrates as some people do, but if you do fasting, it gets you in ketosis, which will help your brain health and encourages better insulin sensitivity, improves cardiovascular health, lowers your blood pressure, and decreases your blood sugar, of course. Now, it's beneficial, but I like people to still measure their blood glucose and ketones, even though you're fasting, but it gives you a good idea of what you're doing, how it's working for you. So getting into the fasting benefits are huge, and learning how to find the fat loss, not weight loss. Everything says weight loss, and it should say fat loss, not weight loss. And fasting really helps that. If you follow Dr. Jason Fung's research, you can learn a lot about how he can help reverse type 2 diabetes. And I'll go on and on, but I'll put these links are actually in my program. We go through it when we have our conference call. So when you do the 30-day program with me, we do work on calls on Zoom with slides and video using Zoom call, and we have 30-minute calls every Tuesday and Thursday, or sometimes Monday, Wednesday, or Monday, Thursdays we've done. So keep you kind of motivated, keep track up with the program on the weekends, and work on getting the fasting questions out of the way and learning how to, keep it simple and listen to your body. So we're working on, the whole you, the 30-day program, but the 5-day Jumpstart is more about the liver, detox, intermittent fasting, and learning how to get all the benefits. So the fasting list of them go on and on. I'll have a blog page on this as well, but the benefits are just huge. And I think, easier thing to do, even if you're not ready to change to a low carb high fat, is at least you should be doing intermittent fasting. And it's a great way to teach your body how to be fat burning throughout the day. And you have to actually, I think you'll want to change what you're eating, because you are full longer if you have protein and fat. So I do better with a higher protein diet. So I've been doing more grass-fed burgers and some goat cheese and avocado and some bacon or maybe an egg. And, having that type of meal will fill me up for hours. If I have carbs, you're going to be hungry all the time. So you really have to do kind of a low carb, high fat food plan with the intermittent fasting. I don't see how you can stay full for hours if you're still eating the high carb processed food diet, unless you somehow are really good at burning carbohydrates and still burning fat, which some people are slow oxidizers and some people are fat oxidizers. I myself am a fast oxidizer, so if I have carbs, I'm hungry in an hour. That's why I've never been able to do oatmeal, have any, high carb meals, and not be full as I would if I had a high protein diet. So that's what works for me. As I say every time, we are all unique individuals and we have different history. My chronic stress background with the stage exhaustion phase of the HPA axis for so many years, and I'm still in compensatory phase, which I want to show you my labs that I got back just to use myself as an example, because I feel pretty good, but my lab tests don't look so good, and I should not be training for Ironman Canada next year that I registered for unless I am able to improve my cell health, my oxidative stress, and my protein digestion and different markers in the metabolic assessment. And the compensatory phase I'm in my hormone panel, all my hormones are still really low. Not as bad as they used to be, but I feel pretty good for having a lot of low hormones and having my cortisol still be below normal. So I think fasting, but eating right for your type is really important to do, and getting the lab testing, measuring your blood sugar. As I started to say, my blood sugar was elevated and I was insulin resistant until this year when I started adding fasting. Even though, you guys, I was low carb, high fat, most all times, and metabolically efficient for 10 years, I still became insulin resistant the last few years because of my stress issues, my chronic stressors, internal and external, contribute to what we say in FDN as metabolic chaos. And part of that metabolic chaos for me is insulin resistance. And the fasting has helped me, but we'll talk in another episode about, for women, how much is too much. And you need to look at your menstrual cycle for when you can add a little bit more carbohydrates based on week. And I figured that out on my own based on listening to my energy levels and what I need, my body's asking for. And I can still measure my blood sugar with Keto Mojo and be able to stabilize blood sugar. But sometimes women might need to add more carbohydrates, not crappy sources, but good quality food carbohydrates than met. And so looking at your menstrual cycle pattern, or just, start listening to your body, you'll still be able to make those adjustments week to week, right? Because it's always different. So I talked really long about bone broth benefits and fasting. And the next time I want to talk more about the impacts of chronic stress on your ability to lose fat weight, which is related to this conversation, insulin resistance. So have a great day. Please do me a favor and go to iTunes, leave me a review, ideally 5 stars, please. And any comments you have, you can send them to my email via debbiepotts.net. As I start my new journey here as a health coach and promoting the WHOLESTIC Method and being a health detective as an FDN practitioner starting in January, I will be doing individual health coaching to help resolve your metabolic chaos with functional lab testing and clinical correlation, and also running these 30-day reset and rebuild programs every other month starting in January, and the 5-day Jumpstart every other month. I'll do December and then February. So Keto Mojo link in the show notes, and anything else, just head to debbiepotts.net, and please share this with someone else, maybe your team, coworkers, family, and let's do that 30-day Jumpstart together and get started next week with a 5-day program and start your intermittent fasting journey. All right, guys, thank you. Let's go do something fun, smile, laugh, and get outside. All right, happy holidays.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.